While we are talking about adjectives in this chapter, we also want to talk about demonstrative pronouns. The reason that it's helpful to discuss them here is because demonstrative pronouns act like adjectives do, and you will find it helpful to see the similarities. By demonstrative pronouns, what we mean are pronouns, words that stand in place of a person, object, or thing, and demonstrate or point it out. So we can break this down into two different categories. The first are things close at hand. You're learning three new vocabulary words related to these, and this would be when we designate something close, like this book or these books. And in Hebrew, the singulars are differentiated by gender. In the plural, you use the same form for either gender. These words indicate things that are close at hand. There's another category of words that designate things that are further away. And what you'll notice is that these are actually simply pronouns. For example, if I see a book lying over on a table across the room, I see a book, it, that one. So these words are actually the pronouns, he, she, they, and they are used to do double duty, and in this case, to point to things that are further away as we discuss them in our conversation. So when I show a friend a book that I have purchased, I have the book on my desk, and it is this one. If the book is over on the other side of the room, it is that one, the it one. And it will need to match in gender and number with, again, the object that I am describing in much the same way that adjectives do. So I will translate these pronouns based on context, just like I did before, and I have to choose the best translation that fits the usage. So in this sentence, Hu ba el Yisrael, he came to Israel, the pronoun who can be used in its typical way of indicating the third person masculine singular he. The verb ba already has the pronoun in it, so on some level, this sentence is actually stressing the subject. He came to Israel. We might want to say, that one came to Israel, to indicate the fact that we are demonstrating what is happening and trying to call attention to this specific individual. You may find, however, that in the context, it's not going to be that helpful to the reader to be able to capture that, and as a result, you might find either one of these translations in a modern English translation of the biblical text. In another context, we find that we need to substitute completely different words. Unlike the first example, where who functions as the pronoun he and functions as the demonstrative pronoun that, we may use these same demonstrative pronouns without using what we would consider a formal correspondence to the English translation. So, kara ze el ze, he called out, namely this one, to this one, is an odd expression in English. While it may be good in Hebrew, in English we would say one called out to another, or this one called out to that one. We're going to use some other equivalence in order to capture the sense of the text. So, in much the same way as the adjectives we studied earlier in this chapter, you're going to rely upon your instinctive sense of where the passage is headed, understand what the author is trying to say, and then capture the best sense in English. So focus on the function of the demonstrative pronoun, and then try and do what seems best to capture that idea for an English reader. Now, demonstrative pronouns will act just like adjectives in terms of how they're used in the sentence, only they happen to be a bit simpler because there's a clear distinction between when the demonstrative pronoun has the definite article and when it does not. And this makes logical sense. When I am pointing at something, it is already by definition fairly specific. It is this one, that one. So when you use a demonstrative pronoun in a predicate sense, as the verbal half of the sentence, it will show up without a definite article. In these three examples that you see here, the first one is very definitely a predicate use of the demonstrative pronoun because, like other predicate adjectives, it shows up before the noun that it modifies. Ze ha'ish, this, the man. This is the man. Its position alerts you to that, but you can also tell because it doesn't have a definite article. In the second example, ha'ish ze, the man, this, we are not saying this man, because if we were, we would want to replicate the definiteness, the definite article of the word man, on the demonstrative pronoun. The lack of the definite article helps signal to you that there is a sentence going on here. There is an equation. The man equals this one. This is the man. Ish ze, a man is this one. We again have the word ze present without the definite article, marking its predicate use. If it has the definite article, then it's being used attributively. So in this example, ha'ish haze, we see the demonstrative pronoun following the noun in the same way that an attributive adjective would, and because it's occupying the same syntactical slot in the sentence, because it is identifying the individual in the same way that an attributive adjective would, it has to match in gender, in number, and in definiteness. The man, namely this one, would be this man. As you can see, demonstrative adjectives are not that difficult to work with. They're even simpler than adjectives. And once again, you're going to find that instinctively you can usually handle these without too much trouble.